First time I did a real guitar YouTuber intro, I finally cracked the code. It's Teemu from guitaristnextdoor.com here, and I have delayed making this review for about a year. I've had this VOX Valvetronix VT20X for about a year. Only now I managed to just start filming, shooting. Yeah. So that's great, but the reason why I delayed it for so long is that I was kind of overwhelmed by the features of it. But now I just decided that I'm not even going to try to explain all the different features of this amp. This video would be hour long and probably a little bit boring too if I did that. So I'm just going to tell you my review and opinion about this and who I think this amp is for. So now let's get started. Also, I just yesterday started the 90-day challenge. I'm going to upload a YouTube video for 90 days straight. So if you want to support that kind of crazy stuff, then hit the like button, watch my videos, comment, and yeah, I really appreciate it. Thanks. First, the overall look and feel of this amp. Well, this is really nice looking amp. Looks great, and it has a sturdy build and it feels durable. It looks like a more expensive amp, and I really don't have anything to complain about this amp when it comes to looks and feel, and it has been a really solid amp in my use. Yeah, I'm really happy about these qualities. So that's it. And a little bit about the portability of this amp if you are going to, for example, travel to your friend's place to play, stuff like that, and it's okay. This handle, it's sturdy, but this is not very nice to carry around. It's quite big. It's not super heavy, but still it's not a portable amp. Also, if you are interested about this amp, you can check the latest price of it by clicking the links in the description. It also helps me out. Thanks. Then the features. Again, I'm not even going to try to explain all the features of this amp, but I'm going to show you some. And I think that this amp has a lot to offer. It has a real valve tube in the preamp section. Nice little feature. I don't really know if it affects the tone that much. And then it has a nice variety of different amp types. 11 out of the box, really great. Tons of fun, and it has 12 built-in effects. You can see these over there, and so you are kind of ensured with tons of different tones, and with these you're pretty much covered when it comes to different genres. Yeah, and maybe this is not my go-to metal amp, for example, but with these features and amp types and settings, you can get some solid metal tones out of this amp too. Then we come to the usability of this amp, and this is the biggest con in my opinion. It's a little bit overwhelming. It has a ton of different things going on, and you can see it by looking at the control panel. When I first took it out of the box, I was really overwhelmed, and it took me a while. Maybe I had a ton of different amps back then in my home, but it took probably a couple of weeks to get really hang of this amp. But after that, it has been great. It's one of my favorite amps. Back then it costed under $200. Now it's way more, but I think that it's still worth the money. But back then it was my favorite amp. under $200. Yeah, so it tells you something. I tested a bunch of them back then. But the usability, it's not the easiest, and that's why I think that this is not my go-to option for beginners. If you just love the tones of this, want to get those modeled tube tones, then go ahead. Even if you're a beginner, you will learn. If I can do that, then you can definitely do it too. But be ready for a little bit steeper learning curve than usually. And now it's time for the most important part, sound demos. And I'm going to play this Epiphone Les Paul Vintage Edition, really cheap guitar, and it's actually quite good paired with that amp. So let's get listening. Well, tones. This is a really good all-around versatile amp. Like it got you covered. Yeah. From really gentle cleans to metal tones, it got you covered. But about these amp types, if we take for example this Deluxe CL and we use the overdrive or distortion effect with it, which comes with the amp built in, and you are not going to get a really good modern rock, hard rock metal tones with it, even with those effects. No. Another example, the AC30, which models the famous VOX amp. If you plug that real amp with an overdrive pedal, you can get really nice tube metal tones out of it. But with this amp, if you use that channel that models that amp and use the built-in distortion or overdrive effect, you are not able to do that so well. So you have to remember that when thinking about buying this and when using it. But if you crave for those metal tones, then the Brit 800 and the Brit channel, they got you covered. Really nice metal tones in my opinion. This is not my favorite amp for kind of modern metal, modern really heavy gent metal, that kind of stuff. It's not my favorite pick for that kind of stuff. But overall, it can handle metal. It can handle blues, jazz, funk, rock, classic rock, all that kind of stuff. Really versatile amplifier. And with those effects I already mentioned it, you can spice up your playing a lot. I mean a lot. And also you have the VOX tone room. I'm going to make a separate video about that. It will be published later, probably this month. And yeah, with that app you have even more tone options with you. Basically unlimited tone options. So that's a great bonus too. And about that preamp tube, I'm not sure that it affects the tone that much. Because I have tested other amps that model the tube tones without any kind of preamp tubes, and they do equally good job, in my opinion. So I don't really believe that tube in the preamp section, it makes a huge difference there. Yeah, but still, this amp does a great job with modeling tube tones with the price this low. Let's now go through the pros and cons of this amp. First, it's really versatile, as I just said, and it has actually pretty nice modeled tube tones. It sounds great overall and has a still, even though the price has gone up, it still has great price to value ratio. And it can get loud if you want, and it has basically unlimited tone options with the VOX Tone Room app. And especially it's great for old school rock tones, metal tones, hard rock, and even for blues. I think it's great for old school stuff overall. And then the cons. It's not very easy to use, especially at first. And then when it comes to modern, really heavy metal tones, kind of edgy metal tones, those tones are a little bit missing from this. And then one con that I really didn't experience at all. I have noticed that even some people comment to my videos that this amp has a ton of hum. And sometimes even so much that it kind of ruins the experience. But with this my VOX Valvetronix 20, I hadn't experienced any of that. So if you buy this amp and got a ton of hum from it, it bothers you, then I would probably contact the seller, maybe return it or change it for other amp. Kind of work something out with the seller if it really has so much hum that it really ruins playing. But this my copy and my experience with this have been really great and almost completely hum-free. And then, who this amp is really for? Well, if you want a really versatile amplifier, has a ton of different tones, those modern, really edgy, heavy metal tones are a little bit missing from it, but overall really versatile. And then you don't mind a little bit steeper learning curve. It's not terrible, but it's, yeah, you have to learn to use this. But this manual, by the way, it got you covered. It's great. Then if you want to experience at least the modeled tube tones, you want to get more familiar with the tube tones and like tube tones overall, then this is a solid option. I think that it does a really good job with that. It's not a tube amp, and it's not the same as a tube amp when it comes to tones of it, but it's still nice. It does a good job in my opinion. And then if you, even though that the price has gone up, I still think that the value for money with this amp, it's still great. And it's, yeah, I would buy it again. And as I said, this is not my go-to option for beginners, but if you like tones of this amp and really like this amp overall, I just go for it. You will learn how to use it, definitely. It's not a no-no. And my overall verdict for this amp, I really like it. I really like it. Really great value for the money. It's really fun to explore different tones and build different tones with this amp, with the VOX Tone Room. The tone room it's not good as the Fender Tone app, for example, but it's still usable tool. So the biggest con was that it's not super easy to use, but when you learn to use it, it's an amazing amp, I would say. I really like it. And still from that my under $200 electric guitar amp test, this is my favorite still. Even better than the Roland Microcube GX or the Fender Mustang LT25. If you just want to practice home and play with different settings, try a bunch of different stuff out, then this is a great option. Yeah, I really like it. And now I only have one thing to ask from you. It's not that big of a thing, but stay safe, and hopefully I will see you again soon.